Could the Philadelphia Eagles make some surprising changes to their lineup following the NFL draft and going into the 2024 season? That's what we're talking about on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for joining us and making today's show a part of your day. And this week, with the schedule coming out, we've looked at this roster in further detail. We broke down the depth chart. Today, we're talking about the lineup. That has me really excited for this upcoming season because we can taste it. We can sense it. It's going to be here before we know it. And if you're with me and if you can't wait for the Eagles season to get here, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Everybody watching right now should hit that thumbs up icon. And let's start off with the offense here. This is going to be a great detailed look at this roster once again, and then we'll, of course, get to some of the surprising changes that could be in store for this Eagles starting lineup here. Starting off with the offense, I think the hiring of Kellen Moore is going to do wonders. You go from an offensive coordinator in Brian Johnson, who was inexperienced, young, had no play calling experience in his NFL career, to Kellen Moore, who has a wealth of playoff and play calling experience at a really high level for the Dallas Cowboys last year with the Los Angeles Chargers. And consistently, his offenses have been extremely productive. We're talking about record-breaking offenses and top 5 offenses, sometimes at the very worst. So a lot of experience here, I think, is going to help out Philadelphia. And then you think about what he does. A lot of creativity, a lot of pre-snap motion. The Eagles last year bordered on being 32nd of 32 teams in pre-snap motion. He's going to be able to run the football. The route trees are very creative. And in turn, I think this really helps out Jalen Hurts in his quest to get back on track. And of course, starting at the quarterback position, as we're going to look at all starters, at least projected as of right now in my eyes, and hypothetically for the Eagles this year, the hiring of Kellen Moore helps Jalen Hurts get back on track to the point where he can return back to that 2022 form. When? What's the theme? He was paired up with an excellent offensive coordinator in Shane Steichen. And Kellen Moore, like Steichen, brings the best out of Jalen Hurts, in addition to still having a really good offensive line and great complementary weapons. And I think Hurts, this year in 2024, going to be very reminiscent of how he performed in 2022. Use a little RPO as well, as the return of his legs could come back now that he's 100% healthy. And then the overall mastering of the nuances of the pass game and Hurts being hungry, he finishes top 5 in MVP voting. Of course, starting at running back is going to be the big free agent acquisition in Saquon Barkley, who looks really fresh in the midnight green. Given the talent on this team, a good offensive line, because Saquon doesn't know what it's like to run behind a legitimate offensive line. His Giants O-line, since he came into the league out of Penn State, have been some of the worst in the NFL. Now, he has a great supporting cast. I think Saquon Barkley puts up around 2,000 all-purpose yards this year, and he, too, going to be an MVP candidate. He'll be to the Eagles what Christian McCaffrey has been to the San Francisco 49ers. An all-around back who can run in between the tackles, get out to the edge, catch the ball out of the backfield, be a good pass protector for Jalen Hurts, line up in the slot, and I hope Kellen Moore utilizes him in that fashion. That's for the Eagles starting wide receivers. We know what the top 2 are going to be. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Both on contract extensions. Both are happy. If there's any drama from both of those players, that's just absolutely ridiculous because they got the bag. They're great players, and this is supposed to be a really good team. They love Jalen Hurts as a player and as a person. They're close with him, and now they finally have a good offensive coordinator. The big question as far as starters go with this Eagles team, who's going to be wide receiver 3? And is the wide receiver 3 on this roster? It's going to be a solid training camp battle here in camp for Philadelphia. Is it going to be Paris Campbell? Is it going to be Devontae Parker? Will it be a rookie in Aniyah Smith or Johnny Wilson? I don't think it's going to be Johnny Wilson. He's too raw. Could it be a player like Britton Covey, or could Britton Covey get some more snaps? Could it be a player who comes out of nowhere to become wide receiver 3? Because some people have been saying that down in the comment section. Either way, this is what we know. The wide receiver 3 battle, a good one in camp. And then at tight end, Dallas Goedert is going to be your starter. The Eagles lost Jack Stoll in NFL free agency. And because of that, tight end 2 is up for grabs. It's going to be a competition between Grant Calcaterra, Albert Okwuegbunam, CJ Uzomah, all different players. As for who will be tight end 2 and what they bring to the table, Calcaterra, a good athlete who's a better blocker than Albert Okwuegbunam. Albert Okwuegbunam, a better athlete than Grant Calcaterra, but is a terrible blocker, but he's gifted as a pass catcher. And then CJ Uzomah, probably the worst route runner and pass catcher of them all, but the best blocker. So I'm curious to see how the Eagles go about that competition and who claims that job. Eagles offensive line, I think it's easy right now. I think they're all penciled in as starters here on your screen. Jordan Mailata at left tackle, Landon Dickerson at left guard, Cam Jurgens at center, Tyler Steen at right guard, Lane Johnson at right tackle. Tyler Steen is going to go into camp as the starter. He's going to have every opportunity to claim that job. Will Matt Hennessy beat him out? It's going to take Steen playing very, very poorly. Trevor Keegan, the draft pick out of Michigan, has never played right guard. So I think he starts off as a backup behind Landon Dickerson at left guard. And if an injury does happen at offensive tackle, hopefully it doesn't to the recently extended Mailata or the GOAT in Lane Johnson, Mekhi Becton, quite a good backup swing tackle for Philadelphia here. Maybe Matt Hennessy can beat out Tyler Steen again if Steen flops. I'm pretty confident here that's going to be the starting group. I'm between like 80 and 90% that will be the starting 5 for Philadelphia up front, paving open running lanes for Saquon Barkley and protecting quarterback Jalen Hurts. Be sure to give me a follow on social media. I put up a bunch of short-form content, some glorious hot takes, some great analysis, and I don't know, I like to think that I can make people laugh from time to time. You watch this show, the real ones know. I'm on X, at Chase_Senior. I'm on Instagram, at Chase_Senior. The IG specifically has really been popping of late. Let's get the followers up on X as well. To the defensive side of the football here, this is where things, to me, get absolutely fascinating under new defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, because we're pretty sure what type of system he's going to run. More on that in a moment. But he's got these different personnel types and different type of hybrid players that if he does change the scheme from what we saw last year, and it goes more toward back what Jonathan Gannon did in 2021 and 2022, how does he utilize some of the players on this team? As of right now, it looks as though the Eagles are going to trot out a 3-4 defense because that's what Vic Fangio has always done. So could that lead to Milton Williams being the 3-4 defensive end for Philadelphia and Jalen Carter playing a little hybrid defensive tackle and defensive end for that 3-4 front? I would not be shocked by that at all. And then you look at some of the backups, Moro Ajomo, PJ Mustipher, Marlon Tupuolutu. You picked up Gabe Hall as a UDFA. This position group is not really set in stone, but you can use these players in a variety of ways. Of course, Jordan Davis is not going to line up at defensive end, but Milton Williams and Jalen Carter have the build and the potential speed and athleticism to maybe play a little bit of end in that 3-4 front. So I think Fangio is going to run that hybrid front. He might go 3-4, he might go 4-3. He's going to ask his edge rushers to, of course, pin their ears back and get after the quarterback, but under Vic Fangio, edge rushers are going to have to drop back in coverage. And I think that's part of the reason why the Eagles moved on from Hassan Reddick. He wanted to pick up sacks. He's terrible in dropping back in coverage. Fangio has talked up Zach Bond. And I think that he's going to take over that Andrew Van Ginkel role. What's of note here is that when Fangio met with the media last week, he talked about Zach Bond as being able to play inside linebacker as an off-ball coverage linebacker. I need to see it to believe it because he's barely done that with the New Orleans Saints to start his career. And for Nolan Smith, my young bull, it is time to shine, man. You've got that first step. You've got the bend. You've got the ability to beat tackles off the edge with elite speed and athleticism and elusiveness. I want to see it come together fully. He showed me some glimpses against the Buccaneers in the wild card round. Now it's time for him to live up to that first-round billing. As for Jalen Carter, put together a full season and go eat. The start that he got off to last year, he was turning heads from media types to casual fans to diehard fans to NFL evaluators who are in front offices now or were in front offices. He played awesome. Then at the end of the year, the gas tank was empty. He got tired, wasn't the same player. Against the 49ers, there was that weird situation in which he was crying on the sideline. John Feliciano claimed that Jalen Carter claimed that he was going to go kill John Feliciano. Weird stuff. Go out and play football, man, and live up to your potential. And Jordan Davis, this is year 3, my man. It's put up or shut up time. Do you want to be a 3-down player, or are you going to be a 2-down player? And if you're a 2-down player, you're not going to have that 5th-year option exercised, and you're not going to land a big deal if you can't play for 3 downs. We've seen you chase down Josh Allen. We've seen you push the pocket. We've seen you take up a couple of bodies on the interior against the run. I just need to see it more consistently, and it starts with being in better shape, and it starts with the better effort. Milton Williams might be the most underrated player on the Philadelphia Eagles. Either way, whether he plays defensive end on that 3 front or he plays defensive tackle, he's in a contract year, and I think because of that, the former 3rd-round pick is going to show up and show out. Eagles linebackers here. Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Patrick Johnson. They are your blitzing linebackers here who are going to have to provide pressure for this defense to fully live up to its expectations and its standards, especially if the Eagles do have an inexperienced secondary there, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. I like the edge rusher outlook here. I know losing Hassan Reddick sucks. I wanted to see him come back, but if he was asking for $25-30 million, it's a little bit more expensive, or a little bit too expensive, excuse me. And then the inside off-ball linebackers. You have Nakobe Dean, Devin White, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Oren Burks, more of a special teamer who will really help that unit. Ben Van Sumer, another good special teamer. And then Zach Bond is the wild card here. Again, is he going to be in that Andrew Van Ginkel role where really he's an edge rusher, or is he going to be an edge rusher and an off-ball linebacker because Fangio believes that he can play off-ball? This is the most excited I've been about the linebacking core for this Eagles team in quite some time. And I've said this a couple of times on the show. Like, Devin White is the most talented linebacker since Jeremiah Trotter. Now, is he the best linebacker since Jeremiah Trotter? TJ Edwards was terrific. But as far as pre-draft testing numbers, overall ability, and the ceiling of the player, TJ Edwards, the model of consistency. It hurt this team last year seeing him walk. But Devin White is an alien at the linebacker spot if he plays up to snuff, if he plays up to his potential. And I'm hoping that Vic Fangio is able to bring the best out of him. And I'm excited to see what this linebacker crew can do. This is where some of the surprising changes could be made to this starting lineup. Look, I'm going to remain hot on this. I think the Eagles are going to give Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell every opportunity to start at slot corner for Cooper DeJean and outside corner for Quinion Mitchell opposite of Darius Slay. Why would you keep a great athlete who's a big-time player who returned 3 of his 7 interceptions for touchdowns at Iowa off the field? And if you have concerns about Cooper DeJean being more of a safety instead of an outside corner, it's a perfect fit to put him in the slot. And I think that he could be a better player than Avonte Maddox, Tyler Hall, and Zach McPherson. And I think that Quinion Mitchell is ready to play right away. The numbers that he was able to put up at Toledo were awesome. 19 and 25 pass breakups the last 2 years, 6 picks the last 2 years. He's seasoned when you watch his backpedal and pursuit skills. He has 4.3 speed. The physicality is fine. And he had 40 starts at Toledo. Now, the backups behind Darius Slay and Quinion Mitchell, I think 1 or 2 really solid corners could get cut. James Bradbury, Isaiah Rodgers, Josh Jobe, Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks, Mario Goodrich. You picked up Sean Stevens, who I think is going to be more of a practice squad player, but the depth has been addressed here by Philadelphia. Quinion Mitchell could be a plug-and-play starter. I think the Eagles, drafting him in the first round as he fell into their laps at 22, are going to give him that opportunity. And if you can have Cooper DeJean and C.J. Gardner-Johnson as these chess pieces that you use interchangeably across the defense. Why not use that at your disposal? Get creative. So I think the Eagles, in turn, to summarize that, they give Mitchell and DeJean the opportunity to start for this squad. The other big question here, where will Isaiah Rodgers and the young cornerbacks fit in with Kelee Ringo and with Eli Ricks? Because I think they're NFL players. Will James Bradberry even be on the team? The Eagles right now had $27 million in cap space. They could realistically just decide to eat that money for Bradberry and just cut him outright. To the safety spot, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship. You're penciled in starters right now with Sidney Brown coming off the torn ACL as a backup. Tristan McCollum as a backup, Mekhi Garner and Andre Sam going to be competing for a roster spot. Of course, the big question here for Philadelphia. Could the Birds add Justin Simmons in NFL free agency? This would be lit. This would be electric. You bring in a player who's going to be 31, but still playing at an all-pro level, who's played under Vic Fangio, who still has that dog, still has the ball-hawking skills and instincts, still is playing at a premier level, and is a good cultural fit as a team captain. Leads the NFL in picks, too, since coming into the league in 2016. Another great competition here as far as the starting lineup. Who's going to be the punt returner? Brent Covey has been a model of consistency the last year and a half after getting off to a slow start as a rookie. He's been statistically one of the best punt returners in the game, but he doesn't give the Eagles anything other than punt returning ability. Cooper DeJean and Ainias Smith, DeJean plays on defense, Ainias Smith can play on offense, and Brent Covey does not have the explosiveness, the speed, the giddy up, the quickness of DeJean or Ainias Smith. So with the Eagles having a deep roster, will they cut Covey and decide to go with one of the rookies who's more explosive as the punt returner? And then the same can be said for kick returners. Like Cooper DeJean is a big play maker. Ainias Smith has been a Nick Sirianni favorite for the last couple of years. And then you have Paris Campbell, who has kickoff return experience as well and can clock a 4.3 40-yard dash. So with Burton Covey, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for making us one of the biggest storylines during Super Bowl week across Philadelphia. Not a sure thing to make this team. So let's round out with this. Grade this Eagles roster Madden style. EA Sports. It's in the game. Rate it 1 to 100. We appreciate you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe, because why would you miss out on this content?